Welcome to another episode of IEEE Pune section's Beyond Conversations. Today, we are honored to have an exceptional guest Hardika Narula with us, currently a product manager specializing in generative AI at Amazon. Hardika is contributing to a field that's actively shaping the future of industries worldwide. Her journey is one of curiosity, adaptability, and growth. Starting at Byju's in the fast paced world of edtech, she transitioned to Accenture, spending nearly 2 years in technology consulting. Her experimental nature led her to pursue an MBA at the prestigious University of Illinois, which broadened her strategic perspective. Post MBA, she worked with Involve.ai for almost 7 years before joining Amazon, where she now works on innovative generative AI products. In today's episode, we'll explore Hardika's inspiring career journey, her approach to product management, and her insights into thriving in the competitive world of generative AI. Hello Hardika, welcome to our Beyond Conversation show. So it's pleasure having you. For starters, let's get started with your introduction. So could you please introduce yourself to your audience?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Sanjana. My name is Hardika. I am a senior product manager tech at Amazon. I work on incorporating Gen AI, new Gen AI features in Fire tablets. Prior to Amazon, I worked with a startup called Involve.ai for about 6 years, where I was the director of product and I was responsible for working on ML-based churn prediction models which would help customers understand their upcoming churn, predict them in time, and take actionable insights and next steps to prevent that churn. So, over a period of over 4 years, we were able to save our clients millions of dollars in estimated churn, and we were also able to get our patented technology on churn prediction and sentiment analysis models. Overall, I come from an engineering background. I did my bachelor's in information technology, post which my first job actually was as a product manager with an edtech startup called Byju's. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about it. Some have heard controversies around it. But that was my very, very first job when it was a 20-person team. So I had the opportunity to work directly with Baiju under him to design the very initial that they launched for students. And then I worked with Accenture as a technology consultant with the telecommunication sector and on reducing their ad spend. Did my MBA after that, and then joined Involve. So yeah, that's my journey in a nutshell for you.
That's amazing, amazing. So, our next question would be regarding that itself. So, you did your BTech, right? After doing your
Mhm.
BTech, you got some experience in the field practically, and then
Yeah.
you chose to do MBA, right? So, what inspired you to pursue an MBA in management and strategy, and like how has it shaped your approach?
Yeah. I wanted to explore more. So I dug my feet in product management, I did technology consulting, I had done my engineering, and I wanted to see if there's something else that I like more. I'm a very experimentative person, which actually works for me as a product manager. But in real life too, I experiment a lot with things that are good, how things can be better. So I felt that after having gotten some good experience with my product management and consulting background, I wanted to get more onto the strategy side and see how business leadership, how entrepreneurship might be a good way for me to get into. So that's the reason why I decided to pursue my MBA. With MBA, you also get a lot of good exposure to not only diverse crowds, like, you're not only working with people from an engineering background, you're working with PhDs, you're working with bioscientists, you're working with people who have been in the automobile sector or have sold cars before. So you get some really diverse perspective around things, which kind of broadens your skill development and gives you a lot more to think about in terms of customer and user experience. So I think doing that is what gave me that perspective, and I also felt it gave me the holistic learning to try my hand at everything with every project that I did. So I did a little bit of data science, I did project management, I did a bit of marketing projects as part of my MBA school. So I feel it was a very, very well-rounded learning, and I'm glad that I did that.
Yeah, that's amazing because I feel like whatever you said right now, it feels like it is a diverse role. It has interdisciplinary fields within it, being a product manager.
Yeah.
So following up that, being in a MAANG company is dream of many people, right? How would you describe the whole journey, and is there a guide for students that are going into that field?
Every person is different. I will not say there's a rule book to go about it. I will tell you though, what are the things that they look for when they are hiring a candidate. And I can talk about product management roles, like very specifically. So the top things, or the top thing that a company would look for is number one, either it would be a brand name. So either you come from an Accenture or from a
Hmm.
Meta or from a known company that people can relate to, and they understand what the company does and therefore what you did. Number two, if you don't have a brand behind you, like you can see from my experience, I didn't always work with a brand.
Hmm.
Accenture, everyone knew about. Byju's, nobody in the US knows about it. Involve.ai, very few people know about it because it's a Series A startup. So, in that case, what creates impact is the projects that you do and the value creation that you do for your customers. That's when numbers and metrics matter a lot.
Hmm.
And I think what helped me get my foot in the door for this for Amazon interview and for other interviews as well that I've done has been the impact that I generated through my project at a no-name startup, right?
Okay.
So I talked about how I helped my customers, what was the percentage impact, what was the percentage savings, what was the accuracy of the models that we worked with. So giving all of these numbers and kind of creating a again a big impact on the customer journey is what helped me get through to or get into the interview round with the man company. And after the interview, I think it's sorry, after getting through the door, acing the interview is all you. In that case, of course, some of your experience matters, but also preparation matters a lot.
That's amazing because you just told us like two perspective of like brand names, and if you don't have that, how projects helps you in guiding you through the process of whole applications and everything. So,
Yeah,
you
and I would also say that this is not only at a man company, this can be at any company.
yeah.
Like at the end of the day, when you hire, you look at what does the candidate bring to
Hmm.
the table, and that's in the 10-second resume overview, which people have. Yeah, go
Yes.
ahead.
Yeah, yeah, true. Absolutely. Also, you told us about your experience, diverse experience in education, technology, and consulting. So, you have been involved in all these, right? And product development right now. So, what's the common thread that ties these experiences together?
I would say that the common thread across these industries, number one, is definitely data. A lot of decisions that you make with respect to rolling out a feature or rolling back a feature or changing your customer segment or changing your marketing strategy or your go-to-market strategy, everything is based off of data. So you analyze that very closely. Obviously, at a consulting firm, data is, I would say, 60% of your job. As a product manager, data is 40% of your job. But nevertheless, that's a big number. So you need to know how to understand and work with data. The second common thread has been customer obsession. So
Okay.
understanding the customer, putting yourself in their shoes, because at the end of the day, whatever you're rolling out, you need to know whether it works for the customer or not. One thing that one of our leaders speaks about at Amazon is that don't innovate just for the sake of innovating. If your customer is not going to understand the fancy pie in the sky concept that you just created, and if the customer is not going to use it, it's of no value to them. So
Mm.
essentially, you did not end up solving a customer problem. That's the reason why I always keep the customer at the center and then work backwards from how you can solve their problem. That's been the consistent theme across all the industries that I've been in.
All right, yeah, true. Because recently I read this book, The Mom Test. So it's obviously about the
Mhm.
thing that, yeah, so it literally explains you why it is important to know the perspective of customers before making any products, because you are going to ultimately make them use their product, right? So, yeah, this
Mhm.
was amazing perspective. So, again, what is product management and how does it differ from your generative AI? As generative AI is a booming field, so could you define it and share an example?
So Gen AI product management is number one. It's everything product management
Yeah,
with an additional component of creativity and innovation to it. So, as a Gen AI product manager, you need to think about what can I implement for my customer using Gen AI, which would either, number one, create higher customer delight and create it faster than a regular process. Number two, how is it going to save my customers time, or how is it going to save me time in the long run if I implement something using Gen AI? Number three, can it automate something?
mm,
So let me give you an example. Recently, Amazon launched this feature, and it's been in the press as well, called Generative AI wallpapers.
okay,
So now think about wallpapers. You've been using wallpapers since forever. You
yeah,
get a list of like 50 wallpapers to choose from, or you can download them from the web and you can set that as your background.
yes,
Now, think about what if you could put your own imagination into a wallpaper and set that as your background, right? So,
yeah,
which is essentially you provide a prompt and you say that I want a wallpaper which has a unicorn in
mm,
a park running with the sun shining in the background, whatever. Like you can go as
yeah,
creative as it with it as you want, and it instantly generates that wallpaper for you. Or you're reading a book and let's say you're reading Harry Potter, and Harry Potter talks about how Harry Potter is playing the Quidditch match and flying on his broom and
mm,
getting the ball and making the round. So convert that into an image or into a wallpaper for you. So this is the difference. So either I give you a set of 50 pre-created wallpapers, which my engineering team works on and my design team works on creating and gives you the entire set, or we say, hey, customer, be as creative as you want. Like there is no bar to innovation here. And you can do that. And this way, you're not limited to a set of 50. You can have thousands of different wallpapers based on what you like, based on what your family likes, based on what your friends like. Yeah, you can experiment as much with it as you want.
really great explanation, because I was about to say that, yeah, but there is wallpaper, but like the stages in it. So another follow-up question I would like to ask, that what are the stages in the generative AI? Like, we are the product manager of this domain, right? So there could be
Mhm.
like emerging LLMs or wrappers, etc., these technologies. So how do a product
Yeah.
manager creates these unique products in this competitiveness?
So product managers, number one, product managers are not creating these products alone. You need to have an amazing engineering
Mm,
team to work with. It's always, you work together as a team. So you succeed together as a team or you fail as a team. So when you're trying to create a unique product or maybe a product where you want to implement Gen AI, you need to think about like the traditional product management journey. Like what can I do today to help my customer, which is look at my metrics. What can I do to increase engagement? What can I do to improve to create customer delight? Like Chat GPT, when it before it was launched, nobody said, oh, we need something like Chat GPT. But when it was released, it had tens of millions of users within the first month, and people were addicted to it, right? So that is customer delight. So think about like as a product manager, either how can you improve existing metrics or how can you just find something for a user, like with wallpapers. No customer ever told us, hey, we want the ability to create wallpapers, because again their imagination is also limited. So you as a product manager need to be very creative about it. Now, how can you be creative? You can have brainstorming sessions within your own team, amongst your own team members. Of course, stay up to date with news and new trends and think about how can you apply those trends in your existing product or new, like what can you do to improve your existing product. I'll give you another example. Uber Eats. So with Uber Eats, or you have Zomato or Swiggy, or here you have Uber Eats. Whenever you're ordering something, like when I order something for my family, I usually try to stick with the tried and tested places because a lot of times, like, I don't want to experiment. I also don't have the time to do research. Like, if the rating is too high, the place is too far. If the place is close, maybe they don't have the cuisine. So there are a lot of factors in it which are inhibiting me from actually trying something new. Now, if, and again, because I've played around with so many different chat engines or so many different LLMs, I think that what if Uber Eat introduced this concept of prompt based dish recommendations? Where I said that, okay, it's a Friday night, my family, I have a family of four, we just want to relax, so we want a comforting meal at home within a 0.5 mile radius because we want it delivered to us soon.
Yeah.
And then I get recommendations that, okay, comforting meal, is it Indian? Is it Mediterranean? A new ramen place just opened close to you, so you can try that. And it filters down and gives me top 3 or 4 options at max.
Hmm.
So I don't have to choose from a set of 50, but I can choose from that list of 4 options, which have now been customized based on my request. So again, as a customer, you are okay with
Hmm.
how these delivery platforms work. But this is how you improve it, and this is how you increase my engagement on it, and increase revenue in the process as well. So I would say, as a product manager, think about like stay up to date with what's going on. Continue to brainstorm with your peers. Continue to constantly think about what could be done to improve your existing app or product or tech, and work with your engineers. And everything does not have to go through an approval process. So it does not have to be the core product that you're working on. You could be working on something very different, but take up something which is like a passion project, right?
Yeah.
Like take it up as your passion project. Create a proof of concept with your engineers, and if the proof of concept is strong enough, you might end up creating an amazing new product.
Yeah, true. That's an amazing answer and very clear. So, as you said, like creativity is one of the over here of being a product manager. So, how do you balance that creativity and structure in your problem solving? If there is, let's say, an error in whatever the engineering team is developing, and you have to communicate that. So, what's your approach in balancing this creativity and the structure?
I think you have to always think about what your end user goal is. So if I say that I need to build this automation onto my platform, well, with automation, there's not a lot of scope for creativity. Like let's go to this Zomato or Uber Eats example where I
Yeah.
want to create this new feature where custom prompt-based dish recommendations come to my user. Now, here I can be very creative where I could say that you can request for a dish, or you can request for what kind of meal you want, what kind of occasion is it that you want it for. So we could customize recommendations based on the occasion. Maybe it's an anniversary, or maybe it's a birthday that you want it for, or if it's a date night. Um, uh, what temperature do you want it at? I mean, you could add a lot of criteria to it. However, like you said, that during the testing phase, if you realize that our recommendations are good for as far as distance is concerned, as far as a customization is concerned, but they're not as good in understanding the occasion. So if it's a birthday party, we may not be able to give you the best recommendation, because in that case, we have to think about catering and
Yeah.
not necessarily 1 or 2 meals. So, like certain edge cases can arise in that process. So, rather than not handling those edge cases, we would say that, okay, let's remove occasion from the picture for now. Let's roll out an MLP, which is like the minimum lovable product. Let's roll that out with a set of features and continue to work on understanding and on training your engines on creating recommendations around occasion based food delight or food patterns. So this way you can kind of break it down. So you can have an minimum lovable product or a minimum viable product stage that you roll out. And on, in the meantime, you can start working, you can continue working on other more creative and more flexible and more delightful options.
All right, yeah, understood. So, following that itself, how do you approach the to simplifying like some concepts to a person in your field which is from non-technical background, or even to the stakeholders? Sometimes you need to break down those concepts, right, of whatever you are working on, and the person being non-technical background. How do you do that?
I think the best thing is if you can provide an analogy for what you have to deliver.
Yeah.
And we faced it very often at Involve AI, where every time, so when you're talking about churn prediction models, like who is the one who cares about predicting churn? It's the VP, it's the director who cares about revenue within the company and who really wants to invest in a product which will help with churn prediction. Now, if I call somebody and if I say, hey, we are working on this amazing churn prediction technology which uses machine learning, sentiment analysis, synthesizes all the data, applies natural language processing on top of that to provide to provide these prediction models. On top of that, we further use natural language processing to create actionable insights for you. It just sounds like a lot of jargon.
Yeah.
And for somebody who's not in this field, they will not be able to grasp it, or they will not be able to grasp the significance of it.
Yeah.
Now, if I tell you that, hey, the way that when you want to see how is the weather going to be looking tomorrow so that you can plan for the rest of the day or rest of the week, you look at your weather app, you enter your location, and you see what the weather is going to be in the morning, in the evening. Similarly, similar to your weather app, what if we gave you a solution which, when you want to know how your customers are doing and which of your customers are going to continue working with you or leave you, you can enter the customer details and we will be able to tell you based on a lot of research and analysis and training that we have done of how that customer is doing, like on a scale of 1 to 5, say, and we can also tell you what to do to either make that customer's journey better or prevent them from not renewing the contract with you. So I'm trying to break it down through an example to explain to my stakeholder or to my customer what is the value add for you, even if you don't have that computer, or sorry, not computer, everyone has a computer background, but even if you don't have an AI or ML background.
All right, yeah, a very clear explanation. So, again, can you share, like, as you said, that there were many aspects of many challenges that you faced in Involved AI when you were working as product manager there. So, can you share any specific moment which helped turn around the challenging project or challenging moment over there?
Sure. And by the way, you face challenges everywhere,
Yeah,
in every domain
yeah,
and in every job. Um, First things first, I would say when you are faced with a challenge, especially if it concerns, getting stakeholder buy-in, getting executive buy-in, like those, sometimes are the biggest hurdles that you have to deal with. I would say always keep two things in mind. Number one, data speaks, so make sure that you have the necessary data to make your point of why they should listen to your recommendations, or why they should implement your recommendations. So keep data in mind. Number two is always answer the question, like, what's in it for you? Why is this going to benefit you? How is this going to benefit the bottom line of the company? Or how is this going to improve the customer experience? How are you going to benefit out of it? So always make sure that you answer these two questions. Now, having said that, one of the examples is so we were so as we were working on our machine learning models and improving them, improving their consistency, I think as an organization, we were focused on how to improve our models, right? Because that was our bread and butter. However, I was talking to customers on a day-to-day basis, I was reviewing support tickets, I was looking at their dashboard data metrics as well. And something that I was noticing was that we were like there was a huge lack of automation in the process. Like at every step, customers would either reach out to us if they had to change something, if they had to update something, or they would need to submit a ticket, and then we would set up a call with them. It was just like the turnaround time was really, really low, was really, really high. So what I recommended to the group was that let's implement something called automation workflows. Automation workflows, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard this term, will is where you can add a bunch of steps to a workflow, where if a user wants to make a change, they could just enter it within that workflow, and through a defined set of actions, those changes will be done. However, because now this had nothing to do with the models that we were working on. So I think this is where the challenge came in. And like I said, the way to first way the leadership here was number one, show them the data of how long it was taking for customers to make any changes, how many support tickets we were getting in, and therefore what the impact would be if we are able to implement something like this. And number two, which is what's in it for you, is how, like, if you can remove this hurdle for the customers, it will increase engagement, which would mean it would increase referrals from customers, which means you will get more customers because these customers uh, will be our champions in promoting our product.
Yeah, that's an amazing answer. Knowing how you actually resolved this challenge, and another aspect I would like to ask about, like what lessons you learned early in your career that still influences your decision today as a product manager, or even interpersonal skills.
I say so. One thing is respect
Hmm.
everyone that you're working with. Don't take them for granted in terms of building stakeholder relationships.
Hmm.
Whenever you are working with somebody, try to understand where they are coming from. If a lot of times, if you don't get approval on something, or if the team decides not to go forward with your project or your recommendation, etc., the sad thing is a lot of people tend to take it to heart. But if you just take a step back and think about what could be a logical reason as to why this was rejected, if you can't think of something, reach out to that person and discuss and clarify it with them. They may have a very good answer, which is true 99% of the times. Uh, in that way, it helps to avoid any bad feelings, especially when you have to work together. And also, the fact that you've clarified also shows that you as a person are not like, and this is what they say of product managers as well, never assume things, always go with data. So here you decided not to go with your assumption, but you got the data and you got a proof of why a certain decision was made. So I would say this is extremely important when your job is so stakeholder management dependent. The other lesson I would say is is to constantly try to keep learning. And I know like this is such a cached phrase, like literally everyone always talks about it, but I mean it. Like when you are working with engineers and they are talking about concepts that you may not even have heard of before, don't assume that okay, you know what, they said it, they know about it, they got this. Also try to learn upon, like read upon that, learn about it, because try to speak their language and see like if they're talking about this new concept, it's helpful for you as well to know, because you're using it in this project today, you might use it in another project tomorrow. So for you as a product manager, it's important to stay up to date with not only what's happening in the product management domain, but also what are the new things that your engineers or the new tech that your engineers are working with and talking about. Try to stay up to date with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Learning is very important, even in whichever field you're going. That's like stepping stone. So another one, if you could redo one project in your career with everything you know now, which one would you do it and why?
Okay. Um, I do want to clarify first. I think with every project, I have gone back with some kind of learning. So I've made mistakes. I've had my share of mistakes as well. But also, once you make a mistake, you always remember never to repeat that mistake. Having said that, uh, your question was that like knowing what I know now, what is something that I would go back and redo?
Hmm.
Um, I would say that with our churn prediction model, if I could be smarter, about using more diverse data sets. When I say diverse data sets, I'm saying that earlier we used to get it manually from customers, but if we could find more sources, which do exist out there now, where we could just get it sooner, where we could use synthetic data, I think it would have helped us build our models faster. So I think that is something that we could have been a little more smarter and quicker about. At that time, though, we did have certain restrictions, and of course, there's PII associated with every data set that you're working with. So you have to be very careful about it. But I think today, Gen AI has given you this opportunity of making sure that data does not have to be a barrier anymore. So I think if, I had this technology then, we could have been just so much faster with development. Um, and then that goes back to model training and analysis and fine tuning as well. Like today, you have much better, faster technologies, and I
Yeah.
wish that you always wish that today's tech was implemented yesterday, so you could have just done it like a century ago.
Yeah, amazing, amazing answer. So, generative AI is a cutting edge technology right now and a very booming field. So, what does a typical day look like for a product manager working on generative AI at Amazon?
Um, so as you work on anything Gen AI, I think I'm talking about Amazon, but I'm sure it's applicable to other organizations as well. Is that the first thing is that you as a PM need to stay updated with everything Gen AI. So the first thing that I do, even before I get to work, either when I'm getting ready or when I'm having my coffee, is to start reading up on articles. So I've subscribed to multiple different newsletters. There's Medium Digest. There's Alpha Signal. Then Anthropic has its own newsletter that they roll out. There are a few podcasts. There's Lex Friedman's podcast, where he gets one Gen AI business leader in on every show and discusses, the future, the challenges, the pros and cons of Gen AI. Um, then there's the A16Z podcast. These are the podcasts which I listen to when I'm on my way to work. So by the time I actually get to the office, I already know like what are the new things that have been introduced that which maybe I would need to discuss it with my peers or with my engineers. So that's the first thing, like read up, stay up to date. The second thing is that, when you're in the office, then you think about, okay, always have a certain, they call it BRD or business review documents going on, which you use when you're working with your engineers. Always think about what else can you add to it? How can you further improve engagement metrics? So your product development process is not sealed until you've actually rolled that product out to your customers. Even after that, you can keep adding updates, but I would say don't say that, oh, I'm done with it and there's nothing more that I want to explore once you have, let's say, submitted your product review document or whatever it's called at other places. Also, part of it is working on daily basis with data scientists, with ML engineers to just go over what the progress has been. So we run sprints, 2 week sprints. So we go over what tasks were done, where the blockers are. And then our leadership team is amazing. So we have weekly reviews with our leadership team where we go over what are the risks that we came across, what are the debates that we want to go over with them. So we kind of get that one-on-one time with the team to go over these issues. And then, you kind of wrap up the day knowing that you were able to manage the risks or not. And you need to still continue to work on something or the other. But yeah, I would say it's not that different from a product manager. Even as a product manager, you need to stay up to date with all the latest trends, etc. It's just, I would say the tech stack and the domain is different.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely amazing day. I feel I would say. Looking ahead, whatever you said right now regarding the podcast and the newses that you go through, what emerging trends in business and technology excites you the most right now?
So right now, and this is something that, oh my God, this is something which I feel like if every business is not already exploring it, they should start doing that, is the advent of edge AI. and how you can use that to create models on device rather than on the cloud, or maybe go hybrid. The reason I'm talking about Edge AI is, and how this is the up and coming technology, is because this greatly reduces your time, reduces the latency that it takes to run models. Otherwise, when the models are on the cloud, it might
Yeah.
take you 3 to 4 extra seconds. And in your day-to-day life, if you can help your customers save those 3 to 4 extra seconds per call, then that is a significant improvement. Also, it helps reduce costs, overall costs. It also gives your customers way more flexibility to work with Gen AI features. Because if you're only working with cloud-based features, sometimes you have to put it behind a paywall, or you provide a trial period because you incur costs every time a call is made. If you can do it on device, you don't have to restrict your customers. So again, that shoots up your engagement numbers, it shoots up customer delight, and that's how you retain customers. So I'd
Right.
say
Hmm.
edge AI is definitely one of the booming things. At the same time, ethical and responsible AI is something that everyone using AI, be it a product manager, be it an applied scientist, be it a researcher, or be it a CEO, everyone needs to think about that and stay up to date with that.
All right. So, if you had to break down what exactly Edge AI is, how would you?
So edge AI, so think about when we talk about large language models,
Hmm.
all of these models, when they started out, as far as I know, when they started out, these models were being run on the cloud, right? So it was OpenAI had its own model, Google has its own model, Anthropic has its own model, right? And they all run it on the cloud. When a model runs on the cloud, what happens is every time I type a prompt on ChatGPT and I say, "Hey, tell me, Thanksgiving is coming up. Give me recommendations on some of the dishes that I can make and provide recipes for it." You see, it would take about 1 to 2 seconds
Hmm.
before an entire response is generated,
Yeah.
right? That 1 to 2 second lag is because it sends that call, that command to the cloud, gets the answer or generates the answer, and then gives you the response
Yeah.
because all their data sets are on cloud. Now with Edge AI, what happens is that the the model is on your device. Now this is something which a lot of device making companies can do. So, for example, phones, iPhone, Google Pixel phone, Samsung Galaxy phone, or tablets. All of these, like with Edge AI, like you need a chip for you to be able to operate off of.
Yeah.
Now, this chip has all is where you can port the models that you want to use. Again, I don't want to go like very deeply technical into this, but essentially, like even as a layman, if you were to think of, oh, now instead of this call request going to the cloud and taking 1 or 2 seconds, the entire model is on my device. It's
Hmm.
on my phone right now.
Yeah.
So it might take me half a second or so
Yeah.
to get the same response, right? So that is what Edge AI is like. Get your models on the device that you use, thereby saving additional costs, and thereby improving the user experience by saving time.
That's an amazing technology. I have heard it right now from you. Um, that's great. So, what's your go-to strategy for staying calm under pressure? Like you are a product manager and you must be working within a team, and sometimes you are the bridge between the team and the stakeholders or any managerial position, leadership position. So, how do you
Mhm.
stay calm and handle that?
So there are multiple ways to go about it. The first thing is, again, it is very human of you to get frustrated sometimes and to just be very, very frustrated, which is okay. So the first thing is accept it. It's okay. Don't fight it. But also don't show it. So it's about, think of Okay, so think of this example. Think of your parents. Whenever they are worried about something, if they worry about that in front of you, in front of their children, the children will start getting worried, right? They will know that something is off, something is wrong.
Yeah.
What are my parents worried about, right? So it trickles down, the stress trickles down. You have to be, but parents don't do that. Like parents actually don't show their children mostly that they are worried about things. Why? because they don't want it impacting the productivity or the mental state of their child. Now, it's a similar thing. When you're a leader and you're worried about something, you need to kind of find somebody or someone to discuss it with, but make sure that it doesn't trickle down to the rest of your team and send them into panic mode or make them stressed about it and impact their productivity. So I would say find that confidant. They could be within the organization if it's like NDA related stuff that you want to discuss. If it's non NDA stuff, you could have a friend outside the company, but have a confidant or two that you can go over it with. It could be your manager too. So that number one, you're not keeping it inside and boiling with it. Number two is that if you discuss it, you let it out, but also you get some opinions, some really good ideas and recommendations there. So I'd say like find that person to do it with. Um, and number three, do yoga. I do it every day, and I think it's really helped me over time to just make me a more calm and a more patient person. Again, for different people, it's different things, but try to have some kind of activity outside of work that is, not work related. Like, don't have a hackathon. Don't call that an
Mm.
activity outside of work. Like, go out, dance, sing, whatever works for you. Just
Yeah.
figure something out so that overall it helps you balance yourself.
Yeah, amazing. Yes, absolutely. So, again, if you were to look for a new role as a product manager in today's competitive job market as a fresher, so what steps would you take to stand out from other candidates?
I would say so. As a fresher, so you're seeing
Yeah.
as a person who has no work
Yeah.
experience, right? Okay. If you are a candidate who has no work experience and you want to stand out in the job market, I would say that then as part of your undergrad or grad work,
Mm.
try to do some kind of AI project. And I'm assuming that you're talking about going in the field of
Yeah.
product or AI
Yeah.
based product management. I would say that try to like showcase your skills in AI. Now, how do you do that?
Mm.
When you are doing your undergrad or your master's, or let's say you were sleeping through your undergrad and you realize that you need to get a job,
Mm.
try to find a team, maybe from your cohort, maybe from your friends, who are working on or who have worked on AI based tech. If you can't find them, find somebody, like find an AI leader. Like there are a
Mm.
lot of AI coaches out there today, right?
Yeah.
Find an AI coach and ask them that you want to do an internship under them or
Mm.
a project with them. Like
Yeah.
try to get that on your resume. So
Mm.
what that will help you with is number one, you'll be working with someone who has the expertise, so you will be learning in the process. Number two, you will also be understanding the AI ecosystem, the landscape of what technology lies there. What are the metrics that you have to evaluate? What considerations or restrictions do you need to take into account when you're
Mm.
working on, or when you're building anything using machine
Yeah.
learning or AI? Get that data. If possible, try to build an app yourself. There are a lot of resources out there right now. And, like ChatGPT, I think it has launched or it is going to launch in the near future a no code solution where you just give it a prompt and it will create the entire code for you. So you
Yeah.
don't even need to know coding anymore. You can just learn coding through prompts or, implement that code through prompt. Uh, it does not have to be a very hi-fi project,
Mm.
but it needs to be something that showcases that you have think through every aspect of the user journey. You've
Mm.
thought about the user needs and the pain points. You have defined a customer problem. You have provided the data. You have built or provided a solution. You show what metrics exist there and how those metrics have improved after implementing your solution. So if you can find the right coach or the right people to do that project with,
Mm.
and then apply to companies, again, please don't make it a blind application.
Yeah.
99.9% of the times, blind applications do not work. So either try to find people working at those companies through LinkedIn,
Mm.
or don't be opposed to joining a small company. Don't be opposed to joining a startup. I understand everyone wants to get into MAANG today, and if you get to it, that is great. But don't close your doors to other organizations, because even with smaller company, there's a lot for you to learn and a lot for you to manage. And then you can use that learning as as your foundation to go into MAANG later. So just don't close your doors uh, to other opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like learning curve in startups or even small companies is bigger because there is something that you actually have to do on your own, unless there is a whole team that you have with you. So, what's one unconventional piece of advice you'd give to someone just starting their career? It could be any interpersonal or professional, anything.
Oh, yes, this is definitely a controversial piece of advice. And but this is something that I've followed in my journey, and I think it has worked out well for me. I would say continue to experiment, try things, and don't be afraid to switch.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the traditional advice which is given to us is, you know what, just stay at this company for 2 years, get some work experience, or stay at this company for 4 years, let your stocks vest, then you switch. Again, everyone has different circumstances. So I don't think this advice applies to everyone. Like, it's not a one-stop shop. However, if you want to do, if you try to identify the things that you are good at. So if you join a certain company, you don't enjoy what they're doing. Like I hear from a lot of engineers, yeah, I did 4 years of engineering, but I hate coding. I don't want to do it. But I'm a software developer today because, well, I got the job. Who wants to leave this job, right? But trust me, like, if give it 6 months, if you don't still enjoy it after 6 months, or rather, if you feel you could be doing something better, or you could be better at something else, try it, especially if you're just starting out in your career, because you're young, you don't have, again, provided that you don't have a lot of people who are dependent on you, you have the flexibility to try different things. If you do have that flexibility, and if your personal circumstances allow you to, then experiment. If you don't like this job, give it 6 months. If you still don't like it, leave and find something else and see if you can figure out something else. If you don't like that either, then try something else again. um this is a very big, um, like, a lot. Having said this, I also want to say that yes, a lot of recruiters, when they look at resumes, they used to want to see candidates who have spent like 4 years or 6 years at an organization.
Mm-hmm.
That is not the case anymore, because I'm not saying that change your job every 6 months, but I am saying that maybe take the first couple of years to figure out what you want to do. After that, like, but make sure, like, don't continue switching for 40 years of your life. But after 1.5, 2 years, once you kind of understand and grasp what you're good at, then continue with that. And that's what you continue with, which the recruiters will look at. It's like a rotational program. You're just creating it for yourself. If you don't have the opportunity to go into a rotation program within a company, just rotate, you know. Um, but yeah, this is what I've done, and it has worked for me, and that's why I'm recommending this. But again, controversial, because everyone's circumstances are different, so it may not apply to everyone.
Yeah, that was great advice because I've seen people hesitating before they are experimenting or they are just hesitant to experiment. That is like one scared moment for them. Even in engineering, when I see people around students, they don't want to go out of their comfort zone and do something actually. So yeah, I feel like that's necessary right now, even for freshers and students like us. So yeah, thanks for being here and
Yeah,
giving your insights and everything. It was great having you, Hardika, and amazing insights right now we had. Yeah,
it was a
that's
pleasure,
that's it.
Sanjana. Thank you for having me, and I hope that I was able to add some additional knowledge and provide some good insights to people who are hearing this.
And that's the wrap for today's episode. To our listeners, we hope you are as inspired as we are by Hardika's path. Whether you are starting on your own career journey or diving into the world of tech, remember, it's not just about destination but the growth and experiences you gather along the way. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit subscribe and share it with your fellow tech enthusiasts.